Good afternoon. Welcome to the April 22nd meeting of the Yakima School Board. We offer Spanish interpretation services from Jorge, who is over right here. If you need translation assistance in person, please check with him for a device. Jorge, please translate this information.
Jorge Villaseñor, Language Connection. Si alguien necesita la ayuda de un intérprete, tenemos los radios disponibles aquí en esta mesa. Gracias.
Muchas gracias por tu ayuda. We provide live streaming for the meeting. The link can be found on our webpage under Board of Directors or by going directly to www.ysd7.org/board meetings. If you wish to make a public comment today, there are two options available for you. The first option is for commenting on agenda items only, and the second option, which comes toward the end of the meeting, is for all other topics. In order to speak tonight, you will need to sign two forms, a sign-in form and the guidelines form. And please read the guidelines form. Recordings, if you are interested in watching past meetings, you may find them on our webpage's YSD YouTube channel. Barb, would you call the roll, please?
Director Beckett? Here. Director Rice? Here. President Walker?
Here.
And Vice President Villanueva and Director Navarro Jr. are absent.
And would you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Ready, begin? Next up, we have the Yakima Land Acknowledgement presented by several of our students.
Today, the schools of the Yakima School District rest on the ancestral lands of the 14 confederated tribes and bands of the Yakima Nation.
Hoy las escuelas del Distrito Escolar de Yakima descansan en las tierras ancestrales de las 14 tribus y bandas confederadas de la nación Yakima.
The people of the Yakima Nation inhabited more than 12 million acres.
La gente de la nación Yakima habitó más de 10 billones de acres.
Across Adams, Benton, Chelan, Douglas, Franklin, Grant, Kittitas, Klickitat, and Yakima counties.
En los condados de Adams, Benton, Chelan, Douglas, Grant, Franklin, Kittitas, Klickitat, y Yakima.
Today we honor those native peoples who are tied to the land through history, legends, and culture.
Hoy honramos a estos pueblos originales que están vinculados en la tierra a través de historias, leyendas y culturas.
We acknowledge our descendants who live in the world today.
Reconocemos a sus descendientes que viven en el mundo de hoy.
We thank the caretakers of this land who have lived here and continue to live here since time immemorial.
Agradezcamos a los guardianes de la tierra, quienes han vivido aquí y continúan viviendo aquí, desde tiempos inmemoriales.
An acknowledgement is a simple, powerful way to show respect. Un reconocimiento es una manera simple y poderosa de mostrar respeto.
And a step toward correcting the stories and practices that erase indigenous peoples' history and culture.
Y un paso hacia la corrección de las historias y prácticas que borran la historia y la cultura de los pueblos indígenas.
It also honors the truth.
También honra la verdad.
As a school district, we will continue to build upon our relations with the Yakima Nation.
Como distrito escolar, continuaremos fortaleciendo nuestras relaciones con la nación Yakima.
Thank you to our students. Next up, I would like us to take a moment to honor the memory of Janice Newbill, who is a former employee of the Yakima District who recently passed away. Her obituary is located in the board documents, and you can access the detailed obituary online. Please join me in a moment of silence for Janice Newbill. Thank you. Before we begin the next item on the agenda, I would like to make a brief statement. Given recent coverage on KIMATV.com and a guest opinion piece today in the Yakima Herald, it is important to clarify some inaccuracies about administrative compensation and fiscal management. We are very proud that Yakima School District maintains exceptionally low administrative overhead. The most recently compiled fiscal data through the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, or OSPI, shows that Yakima schools with an 11.5% administrative percentage, ranking us number 258 out of the 295 public school districts. Simply put, 87.5% of the school districts in Washington state have a greater percentage of administrative overhead than the Yakima School District. Our percentage of overhead is in the lowest 12.5% of all districts in the state. In the 2024-25 school year, next school year, Yakima School District will continue to provide a higher staff per student ratio since at least the 2014-15 school year, and most likely ever. An amazing commitment to students, educators, and union leaders who have voiced a need for more support to address persisting post-pandemic achievement gaps and mental health needs. This support ratio, combined with extensive budgetary work to keep our district out of insolvency and at a policy-driven 5% fund balance, actually shows very sound fiscal management. Lastly, I encourage all who have questions to access our school district website for trusted, up-to-date information on the budget realignment process at www.ysd7.org/budget. Thank you for listening. Next up, we have Mr. John Kavanaugh, YEA President, to address protected union activity and management compensation. Mr. Kavanaugh.
Hello, board and superintendents, and I also have with me my vice president, Francis Guerrero. That's a very interesting statement in that if we're, did you say 258th, and the fact that we must have a lot fewer but administrators, but they're just paid a lot more. West Valley Superintendent, 249,000. East Valley, 258. Sela, 241. Sunnyside, 217. Now those districts are smaller than ours, but our superintendent is also paid significantly more than the superintendent of Spokane, which is double our size. From 2019-20 school year to the 22-23 school year, as reported by the district to OSPI, the superintendent over that time has got a 33% raise. From 252,000 to 274,000. This year, it's reported that the superintendent is going to make 333,000, but that's reported now, not what's reported at the end of budgetary year, so we won't see the real figure until next November. And the real reason why, I bring this up is when I was up here 2 meetings ago, I asked the board, you usually get back in writing to somebody when they ask you something, maybe I didn't make myself clear. I would like some justification from you on why there were such significant raises over that time when teachers who were in the classroom, psychs, SLPs, everything over that same time frame got a total of 12%, which is pretty much IPD or cost of living. In and looking around at this board, one of the things when we come up here to speak to you, it would be nice if you would get off your computers and look at us like we ask our students in class to do. Thank you.
I would like to address the protected union activity. So this was actually an issue last year as well. WEA sent out emails to all of the union members in the Valley asking them to email the school board and show support for what they already were seeing in terms of poor fiscal management. Several members from several different unions responded, and in return, the superintendent individually looked them up and responded individually, but also CC'd their either direct supervisor or their school boards. In fact, YEU addressed him last year, and I'm just going to go ahead and refresh your memory. Superintendent Green, we, the undersigned leaders of the Yakima School District's labor units, write today to address your violation of the Yakima School District's board policy number 5454 regarding civility, promoting a work and learning environment that is safe, productive, and nurturing for all staff and students, and to encourage the free flow of ideas without fear or intimidation is a first listed purpose of this operational procedure. Recently, when you responded to our members in our district and surrounding districts, work emails, CCing their direct supervisors and other administrators after they participated in a concerted union activity, you violated this procedure. By alerting their direct supervisors in your emails, you were in fact placing targets on their backs as people to be watched, which was intimidating and caused fear. Our members were offended and disappointed by your actions to attempt to single them out, definitely contrary to your "we are one" mantra. So we, as their elected union leaders, are assisting them in communicating with you as a source of concern. YEA actually filed a grievance against the superintendent for this. And in case you were wondering what kind of language, what kind of intimidation was used, for example, this was a member that's not even in our district, congratulating them on their NBCT achievement and then thanking them in air quotes for their service, and then turning around and claiming that they didn't use proper research or leadership, which he would have expected from someone who was an NBCT, completely questioning this person's ability to think for themselves, basically. Then he continued to name drop this person's wife who happened to work in our district. Literally no reason to do that except as intimidation. Since this person was not in our district, they didn't CC just the principal. He also CC'd the entire school board. So again, no reason for that except to place a target on the back. And then at the end, I do hope that you take me up on my offer to meet and are not simply content with passing on what you state as the rumors I overhear. You have the opportunity to investigate on your own, starting with a professional conversation, instead of expecting the board to research what they already know from an open session meeting accessible to you. But as we've already seen, there's a lot of gaslighting that goes on, and that's not always trustworthy. We would like to remind the board and the superintendent that we are allowed to engage in this kind of union activity, including going to the media and including, once again, WEA sending out click emails for members to direct directly to you to bring this to your attention. I know you call it sound fiscal management, but if this was in your attention last year as well, there shouldn't have been a RIF happening right now. Your sound fiscal management should not have cut over 100 positions. We have the right to question the cuts that are being made. Every teacher, every position is important, has validity, and they have the right to question what your justification is for making those cuts. And your response often to these people curtails, runs around, or is downright offensive. Also, as you know, there is much opinion being shared online and not enough clarification sought by those so willing to post, repost, or join in mob mentality. You really said that about us for sharing information online. That's offensive. The information that we share online comes directly from WEA, and that comes from OSPI. We're not sharing any random rumors that we hear. We're only sharing information that we're getting straight from the state. I also want to point out that it has come to my attention that it's not just teachers that are emailing you, asking for information or questioning things, it's also students. And I really hope that you are not making these same kind of comments to students, because they are even more easily intimidated and bullied than adults are. It's bad enough to be doing it with adults, but to be doing it with students as well would be unconscionable. And the last thing I want to point out is that, particularly with the online merger and Stanton, when the board docs were sent out, people were able to see that the superintendent had received an in compliance for the civility. And someone let me know. I can think of 3 instances at the top of my head where he was not compliant. When he interrogated one of our teachers trying to get a name out of him about a rumor. Then when he said he deserved a punch card for all the times he has come to Yakima online in front of everyone. When he asked my principal why I reached out to him and told her she should not have let me send an email to him asking him to address our concerns. We have the right to send those emails. We have the right to ask those questions. And we're going to keep asking if we're not getting answers that we feel are clear and justified. Thank you.
Next up, we have a school presentation from Roosevelt Elementary School. Please welcome Principal Cheryl Jordan.
Well, first of all, I want to thank all of you guys for coming. I know tensions and pressure is high right now, and I would like to ask all of you just to maybe put all those emotions aside just for 5 to 7 minutes, because Roosevelt has some amazing things that's happening here, and we have great teachers, and we have amazing things. I'm just going to share and highlight just a few of those things, and then as you notice in the agenda, there will be a break after the first comments to do a tour, and then the board will actually see hand in hand what is actually happening in our classroom. So I'm just asking out of respect just be present, and we are doing some great things, and I would like to share some of those things this afternoon with you. So our first thing that we want to do is I'm going to show our demographics. And as you know, everybody, there's percents on every demographic in every school. But on the bottom, I want to acknowledge that 100% of our students that are born to be successful. And that is what Roosevelt believes, and that is what we are teaching. And we are going to move on forward with making our students successful. Our focus, I want to do a few slides. I'm going to work on our strategic plan goal number 1. I have a slide for the early years. I have strategic plan goal number 2, and strategic plan goal number 3 is what I would highlight today. So we're going to move on to our first. This is our strategic goal number 1. Developing a strong foundation in the early years. So as you can see, this slide goes back to 2015, and this year it is showing 23.6% of our incoming kindergartners are highly skilled. So they're coming in with higher skills of the highest since we've seen in 2015. I know that we've had some conversations. We don't know all the contributing factors for all of that, but we are looking into that, whether it's preschool or anything that we're doing with any daycare, what's happening in those to see our kindergartners this year at Roosevelt, 23.6% are coming with very high skills, knowing the 6 areas development of learning over the time. So we are very happy to see that happening here at Roosevelt. Our next strategic goal, I want to move into strategic goal number 2, and that is all students are empowered, connected, supported, resilient, and engaged. And I do have a new slide for this. When this slide got put into the presentation, I printed out a new one for today, but as you can see, our SIP goal, our school improvement plan goal, we have an attendance goal that last year we ended our attendance percentage at 91%. So our ILT, our instructional leadership team, got together and we wanted to maintain 91, but we made a stretch goal to 93%. As of today, I printed it out and it's on our data board out in our hallway. It is at 93% so far as of right now. So kudos to our teachers and things that we have engaging, which I'm going to go into next to follow our strategic plan goal. Number 2, for making sure all that is happening and being here at school every day and on time. So here are some things that keep our kids coming here to Roosevelt, and I kind of want to highlight some of these pictures. There's a lot of pictures on here, and I'm just going to kind of go through each one. And I have this problem, my laser. There we go. Okay, so this first picture right here is where we were giving free haircuts. And so, of course, all the students wanted to come, and we got parent permission to give free haircuts here. They were here, I think, for 3 days, giving our students haircuts. The one right next to that is our assistant principal, Mr. Hover, getting a pie in the face for the top jogathon. We had a jogathon, and the winners were able to pick and choose what they wanted to do, and they decided to put a pie in Mr. Hover's face. So everybody was here that day. We have got really great attendance on these activities. And last year, we were able to start a Soccer for Success here. It started in the spring, and then we were able to get it this fall, and now we're in the spring also. So this is also a contributing factor. All 3rd through 5th grade want to be here and want to participate in these fun activities. This next one is our game night. We do have family nights once a month, and this was one of our game nights that all the families come. It was board games, card games, cornhole. We had a lot of stuff just coming and participating, and we had pizza and water to kind of making sure everybody is engaged. This one down in the bottom corner is our breakfast bites and books, and that is a grant that was written, and this is one of our 1st grade classes at the bottom, and Mr. Trevor Green was able to attend, and he was sitting down talking to our parents and our students about what is going on in our classrooms and getting a feel for why do we want to come to school. And they get free books, and then they have pastries that are given to them at that also. This next one is guest speakers. So this bottom middle one is Officer Chief Murray, and he came and is reading aloud to our kindergarten class. And then the last picture is our awards assembly that we have honoring all of our students, and all the teachers pick, and we award them different prizes for Bear Greatness awards and their acknowledgement in growth in being citizens. Going into our strategic plan goal number 3, which is equitable opportunity to achieve core mastery and critical thinking. So these are our SBA scores from last year. And as you look, can we do better? Absolutely. We are working toward that and working on our strategic plan goal 1 and 2. We're hoping to see an increase in this. The scores on the left-hand side are regular general education classroom. The one on the right is our 2 self-contained classrooms that take the WA-AIM. So that is an alternative assessment that we give. And then to continue with our goal 3, This is a lot of our teachers use data binders, and board, you will be having an opportunity this afternoon during our walkthroughs to actually hear a presentation from one of our students in the classroom that you will be able to see in actual. Everyone will have hands-on, so you'll be able to actually look at one of our data binders, and we have a student explaining why they do it, and it's going to be a very rewarding experience and time for that. And then any questions from the board?
Cheryl, thank you for a very thorough presentation, even if it was short. Congratulations on your 93% stretch goal accomplishment. That really says a lot for the dedication of the staff here at Roosevelt and how they engage the students and allow the students to feel like they belong to a pretty special place. So congratulations on that.
Awesome, thank you. We love our students. I tell them that every single day, that we love you, make it a great day. And so thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Cheryl. I'd also like to add, and during my term on the board, I've had 2 opportunities to tour through Roosevelt and visit with students and go into classrooms. I've been very impressed with how students are performing and with the teaching and pedagogy that's going on in the classroom here. So congratulations for all your hard work. Next up, we have updates from members of the board. Do we have any updates?
I attended virtually a WASDA Legislative Committee meeting Friday and Saturday. And during that meeting, we reviewed the 20 proposals that came out of WASDA membership for this year's General Assembly. Some of them were revisions to existing positions, several were new, and we were able to accomplish that work in such a timely manner that we only have 1 day to meet in May and not 2. So you'll be seeing in August the pamphlet that comes out from WASDA for General Assembly. In the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Thanks, Martha. Director Beckett, anything to report? I have one thing to report about Director Beckett, which isn't related to school board. It certainly is related to his contributions to our community, which is he has been named the Washington State Realtor of the Year. So congratulations to Mr. Beckett. And now we have our update from Dr. Green.
Thank you, President Walker, members of the board. I'd like to share 4 items with you today, and then we'll start, I think, first and foremost, with an update on the RIF and recall status, which is very important to share, especially given the reality of us engaging in these moves so early in the year. As you have seen of late, we have many more districts around the valley and area that are announcing reductions in force, and it was very intentional for us to go out early and make sure that everything was settled as quickly as possible, and that we were able to provide opportunity for those who were impacted to have an advantage over those in other areas, because we know that this is actually a funding state issue and not an issue related to one single school district. And just to refresh the board's memory, we do have currently in the state of Washington 4 districts that are in binding conditions, which means they are operating in essence in the red and ripe for state assistance in trying to dig themselves out. So we're not in that situation, but I do believe it's important to give an update on where we're at in our RIF and recall status. So I've asked Anthony Murrieta to share the latest information. Anthony.
Thank you, excuse me. Thank you, Dr. Green. So since July of 2023, when the Assistant Superintendent of Finance projected a revenue shortfall for the 2024-2025 school year, our administrative staff have been working to preserve jobs. On December 8th, 2023, WEA presented to us their general fund budget overview, where they documented on page 41 all staffing levels in 2023-2024 this school year versus the 2018-2019 school year, Dr. Green's first year of being superintendent here, have increased in FTE. So in essence, what I don't want to be lost there was that all positions have increased in FTE according to their document, page 41, with the exception of this year, administrative staff is the only one with reported reduction in FTE from last year. Today, we are down 5 directors, 1 assistant superintendent, 2 operational supervisor group. We have lost 6 custodial positions due to attrition. So when I say that we have lost them, when somebody resigns, we have opted not to backfill that position in order to get to the desired number without having to RIF. We have chosen not to backfill 2 positions which were budgeted for maintenance and 1 individual who resigned. We have reduced subcontracting. We have reduced cost of materials. We have held open positions for the office and professional positions and filled them with long-term subs. So again, our administrative staff inside the schools themselves, the secretarial group that you first meet when you walk into the buildings, when somebody has resigned, instead of posting those positions, we have chosen to fill them with long-term subs so that when we got to this process here, we would then be able to have any of the impacted positions be able to backfill into those open positions, limiting whatever the impact of a RIF would be. We have reduced 10 assistant principals, 8 of which have been recalled into other internal positions within the district, 2 of which who've accepted positions at other districts. We have reduced 1 assistant superintendent, who I'm very pleased to say has landed a superintendent position at the Ridgefield School District. Also, we are down 1 assistant superintendent when our deputy left to be a superintendent, Stacy Luck, assistant deputy now, but she was assistant superintendent, moved into that position, and then we did not backfill her position. So we get to a situation this year where we have to follow the RCW to present to the board to approve the need to perform a reduction in force. And what in turn this does is allows the district to reallocate resources to meet the needs of our students. It aligns the labor to meet the needs of those students. Currently, we have 26 paras who received RIF notices, all who have been realigned and have secured positions for 2024-2025. So although those individuals have received the RIF notice, there's positions for them next year. We have no impact to food service, transportation. I mentioned already custodial and warehouse and maintenance, but also information technology. So as positions were vacated, we then held them so that when we came to a RIF, we do know that we have less positions for next year than we had this year. And also that savings gets calculated so that earlier when you saw Jake's presentation on March 25th, we were trying to get to $20 million, but $5.4 million was not necessary due to these reductions that took place during the course of this year, therefore getting us to a smaller number. I do not want to make it sound like everything is rosy. We still have 1 OSG position who has not had an internal position to land, 2 directors in the same position. For all, I'm sorry, I think I skipped over something here. We also have the situation where YPTA, our professional and technical employees, you heard from one of the employees last meeting where she had stated this has happened to her 3 years in a row. Now, I know that that is very stressful and that is very difficult for her, and I am not trying to limit what that impact is. But at the exact same time, the reason why it's happened 3 years in a row because we have found another position in the district for that person to be in. And that is the same thing that we are trying to do with every position that we currently have. Now, currently, by PTA has 20 individuals who do not have a position to land in. And again, I want to be very clear. Our orders, one is too many. But through that, we also have open 18 current positions, and Chris Miller and Kim Newell had given an explanation on how they go through the recall process. There are currently 18 positions of other bargaining units within our district, which will be made available to those individuals that they could choose to accept or not to accept. We still have 4 more months before the end of the school year, and our goal is to get to the point to where that number is 0. When it comes to our certificated members of YEA, a total of 138 employees were issued the reduction in force. Now, we combine those positions with all other positions that have already resigned due to either retirement or securing positions in other school districts or other employers. Once those positions are combined, we begin the transfer process. So we have already completed the in-building process that is performed by seniority order until all employees who were impacted due to the elimination of their position. So for instance, if we had an instructional facilitator at Whitney and that position in this RIF was eliminated, that person is assigned to Whitney. So as we go through the openings based on RIFs, retirements, and other resignations, those individuals would exercise the seniority to secure a position in building. They may also choose not to when in-building is complete, and that means each and every in-building throughout the district, we then go to in-district. Right now, there are 14 of those individuals. That process will close Tuesday at 3:45. Because that is at the end of the day, we will know by Wednesday where all of those 14 people land. And I do want to be really clear, all 14 of those individuals will land within a position in the Yakima School District. So lastly, what that then brings us to, which we should be able to begin Thursday, is the recall of all of the individuals who had been RIFed or have chosen not to secure one of those positions within the building. Then they would have already done so through the in-district. When we are through, now what I cannot tell you is what the magic number is going to be when we're all done. Because ultimately, and I think again, we heard from an employee who says they are on a conditional certification. They teach a specialized class, and if that class was eliminated, then going through this process, that individual may not have a FTE position to land in. But because we utilize language that is already agreed to, and again, I do want to give our labor partners credit because this is something that has been bargained and the district agreed to years ago. Those employees will then be able to access a position to a sub. We will, once we know the final number and head count, we will then be able to look to see where they were originally working. We will try to assign them all to their buildings. I'm going to put an emphasis on the word try, because if all of them came out of the same building, then we're going to have to adjust them and put them to a different building. With what number is left, we should be able to assign at least one to every building. That will allow them to work with the same peer group. That will allow them to work with the same administration and be a part of the same professional learning community. With that, they then exercise language where once they get their 30 shifts, they move to the bachelor step 0 pay grade, which will ensure that they are somewhere very close to what they made this year. Again, I want to be really clear. That is not the same that they will make next year as they did this year, but they will be off by about $1,000. We've also, because they will utilize the language in the contract, we'll be able to utilize the language in the SEB benefit to say that there is a continued expectation of employment and give every single one of those employees the ability to retain their health insurance. So from the YEA bargaining unit, every employee should have a position to land next year. Some of them will not be the same positions that they currently have. And honestly, if you are at the very bottom of the list or you are in one of those few positions, it is an impact. I'm sure it will be stressful, but we will be able to ensure work. So ultimately, if all of this takes place, why go through the RIF process and what is the impact? We could only do these moves when we RIF, when we utilize the RCW, when we prove to you that there is a decline either in enrollment or funding or both, which I believe that we already have, and that then allows us to do the things that are necessary in order to realign the workforce. So in the end, don't know what the final number will be, but I imagine that it will be less than I have fingers, and we will continue to work to make sure that everybody lands. One of the other things that I think is also important for everybody to remember, that based on their language in the contract, they also have the right to recall. And if they utilize this language to stay employed with us as a, for lack of a better term, permanent sub, as positions come open, either in long-term sub positions, because we have people who go out due to pregnancy or other illnesses, hospitalizations, or they choose to take a leave of absence, we then can place them into those positions where they then revert back to the proper placement of the pay scale. So the real impact will be to the substitute community, because there will be substantially less positions or openings on a day-to-day basis, but will allow us to reduce the total cost to get to a balanced budget. This has been extremely stressful trying to land where we could find a position for everybody. And I want to ensure everyone this is not something that we have taken lightly. And as I have stated to internal staff here, I will tell you this. I've been a union member for 35 years. And one of my earliest experiences was being on a picket line where my father was out for 90 days. Listening to those men talk about the impact it had to their homes, the possibility that they could be evicted, that they could lose their homes, was something that caused me to grow up feeling insecure about our finances. And anybody who knows me knows that I'm one of the cheapest people you will ever meet, because I want to make sure that my family never has to go through that. We are taking these steps and allowed to take all of these steps. And I say that because I report directly to the superintendent, who reports back to you, that we are doing these things to ensure that nobody has to grow up feeling that way. So to all of the employees, I offer you my sincerest apology for the impact and the anxiety that you are all going through. But I assure you, we are working our tails off to make sure that everybody has a safe place to land. Now, again, one is too many, but we are not through, and we still have 4 months to go. And so when Trevor says, Dr. Green, when you say that we started this process early in order to give everybody the best opportunity that we could, it is because, as you are now seeing the other districts around us offering or being put in the same position that we are in, there will be less positions for our employees who currently have a job who may want to go somewhere else to go to, or if they are RIF'd, to go to. So we wanted to be able to do this as quickly as possible so that we can make those adjustments and let the employees know that they have stability, which most of them will all know by the end of next week. That is what my goal is. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe it'll take 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But the goal of doing all of these things was to get to our people to be secure before the end of the school year. And so from that perspective, I hear you. I hear you all very loud and clearly. I know the superintendent is hearing you. And I thank you for your time.
All right. Are there any follow-up questions from the board for Mr. Morita?
I just have one. Also, within that process, assuming the worst happens for any of our employees and they do end up in the contracted sub pool, but I heard you say that if they work the month of September, then they have health care for the entire year. Is that correct?
So number one, the contract states that if they are on layoff, they have the right to secure a sub position prior to us
Okay.
using an outside sub. We have anywhere between 100 and 200
Right.
absences a day from our certificated staff, with a handful of individuals being without a position. If that were to happen, they are virtually assured a continuation of employment. So when they work through September, we will pay them for September, even though by law we are not obligated to.
Mhm.
And then because of our policy that we have in place, they will meet thresholds in October, February, and June. So again, a person still has to go to work in order to
Sure.
get their benefits. It's not they don't just work the month of September and then not show up the rest of the year
Right.
and assured benefits. So yes, to answer your question, the answer is yes. I'm sorry that I make it more complicated than what it
Okay.
really needs to be.
And I have a follow-up question for
Yes,
that.
sir.
To your knowledge, is there any other school district in the state that has made that kind of an offer?
To be honest with you, sir, I'm not asking everybody else. It is, I know that we are doing it, and I know that we're doing it because it's the right thing.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I will proceed with the superintendent update. As we know, education has changed greatly over the decades and over the years, and it's important to provide opportunities beyond sometimes what we're funded, whereas things become very challenging at times. One such opportunity that I'm excited about sharing is the latchkey update, and I asked Stacy Locke, our deputy superintendent, to share current progress in this move.
Thank you, Superintendent Green. Good afternoon, board. We have been working now for the last couple weeks on an after-school and before-school program that will allow parents an opportunity to drop their kids off in the morning before school or after school. The RFP to solicit applications for third-party business to be involved just went out today. 14 days from now, we will have those applications back and we'll be able to determine indeed if we can start the program in the 24-25 school year. It will depend on the number of applications that we have. We have requested that we perhaps can have more than one business involved because we have so many elementary schools. But we are excited. We have sent notices back to parents who have been inquiring about that possibility, and we look forward to what we can offer in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Superintendent Lott. Another thing I would just like to share here at the update, I have two more. I think actually, let me kind of acknowledge first and foremost our students who have been at so many of our last meetings. And it was wonderful to just see the display of student voice, which happened a couple weeks back, with students exercising their rights to free speech and taking advantage to support many of the people that are in this room, which is very important because we know how passionate people are about what they do. And that is part of what makes education such a great career, is that passion and that opportunity to make an impact on our students. And that is exactly what happens with our students. And we have had an opportunity to engage students around student voice work more targeted from the district level. Look forward to expanding that more fully district-wide. But I've asked and we have two of our fellows here that I'm looking at right now, Andrea and Ezra, who are in attendance to answer any questions about the student voice policy this evening or this afternoon. But we do have a wonderful announcement that I'd like Ezra to share if he could approach the mic.
Good afternoon, members of the board, superintendent, and let me see if I can fix this. and cabinet. What I'd like to share with you today is that I've recently been acknowledged with an award called the Princeton Prize in Race Relations National Certificate of Accomplishment. It's an award from Princeton University that recognizes U.S. high school students who put forth great effort into advancing racial equity and mutual understanding. I was one of 4 students from the Northwest region of the U.S. to receive this award, and I'll be attending an award ceremony in Redmond in May to specifically share about the work that's happening in Yakima with the other award winners. And the reason that I'd really like to share this with you this evening is that I believe it's a third-party verification from Princeton that verifies the work that is happening within Student Voice in the Yakima School District is meaningful, deep, and legit. And I believe that verification is super powerful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ezra, and thank you for being here, Andrea, as well. And I'm sure we might have some other students that come here a little bit later. Just the work that happens with them in setting policy and engaging in ways to improve opportunities for our students is truly rare in the field of public education. So there are many districts that talk a lot about student voice, but to actually see the work happening and knowing where it's headed because of the great work of 2 of the individuals here, and also knowing that they stand on the shoulders of Chloe and others who have served Lincoln, Connor Lincoln, who have been here previously, and they're laying the foundation for others beyond them. So I want to just again acknowledge their hard work, and I know it's not easy working with adults to change a system, but thank you so much for not giving up on us and engaging on behalf of our students and our community. The last portion that I'd like to share with the board this evening is just an update around how things are progressing or impacted in the area of, I've chosen this evening, high school music, for example. And I want you to know that since assuming the role here in 2019, Eisenhower at that point had 2 music teachers focusing on choir and marching band. And since then, they have expanded to 4 teachers specializing in choir, orchestra, marching band, and jazz band. And they're slated to continue with the same number of students, of staff members. So there will not be a reduction of staff in the music area of the high school area. And speaking with Mr. Freeze, for example, the marching band at Eisenhower, they have increased growth from when he started here. I believe it was 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. He had a marching band of 31 students and now boasts over 140 students in that marching band. And we know that the funds to support music, a large portion of that does come out of the local levy. And I want the community to rest assured that any of the reductions and budgetary issues that are happening, it is beyond, we have that base level of support that existed previously, and we have invested and expanded in those opportunities, and we'll continue those as long as possible because we know the value of arts in our community. At Davis High School in 2021, we had 3 music teachers at the high school, and today we have 4.2 teachers at the high school, and we are scheduled to have another 4.2 there next year. So there will not be reductions in that area. The only impact in the area of budgetary constraints that we've seen in the music area has to do with the number of preparation periods that a teacher experiences. So beyond a certain amount of classes, if you teach a different class every period, that becomes very difficult to do as an educator. In fact, I was offered a position before I started teaching here in Yakima. It was out of state, and it was teaching Spanish 1, Spanish immersion, Spanish 2, and then an exploratory of French, German, and Spanish, which I didn't speak, and then another class in math, which I wasn't endorsed in math. And I remember saying to the assistant principal, would you accept this type of schedule? And he looked at me and he said, no, I would not. And I know that it is very difficult, and it is teaching is a challenging profession as is, So to have educators teach and be the best that they can be, it has been negotiated in the contract that above a certain amount, then we do pay extra, and that extra does not definitely compensate for the work that entails. So in another effort to tighten the budget and make sure that we're being very intentional about the scheduling that we do, we are seeking to have as many of our music teachers as possible teach within that 4-period variation. And so, for example, this last year we had 8 students enrolled in IB Music and another 8 in another course, which were 16 students for 2 different courses, which of course, during a time of budgetary constraints, we have to consider all options. So knowing that only 3 of those students submitted for the IB exam, and we had 2 separate classes, then that does create an opportunity to look at some consolidation. So that is happening at the level of the building level, but if you hear anything out in the community about reductions of staff members, that is not true. And there would be a minor reduction in course offerings, but that is, of course, after having built them up over the previous 3 years, but we will still have many more offerings than we had before 2019. So we're excited about that continued commitment to the arts and are dedicated to making sure that they continue to grow within what we're able to support in our budget. That's my report for this evening. Do you have any questions that I could answer or get back to you with if I don't have the response right now?
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I just wondered if we could get a similar status update for elementary and middle school music.
Absolutely. I was actually hopeful that you would ask for that. So we will push that down the road and come back with a report on the middle and elementary levels. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Kirsten, do we have some calendar highlights you would like to present to us?
Thank you, President Walker. The first that I would like to highlight is High School Musical at Davis High School. You have one more opportunity, or actually 2 showings on Saturday the 27th, one at 2 p.m. and one at 7 p.m. I was lucky enough to attend opening night on April 18th, and it was fantastic, very fun performance by Davis. And then this week on Thursday, April 25th, is the Excellence in Education event, and it is in the Ike Auditorium. It begins at 5 p.m. The program runs for about an hour, and then there is dinner and photos and mingling following. On April 30th is the 2nd annual Voices or Voces writing contest, and it also will be at Eisenhower at 6:30 p.m. And looking forward to May, on May 16th is the WASA Awards Banquet at 6 p.m. And please look at the board meeting's website for additional school events and additional varsity sports. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirsten. Next up, we have a monthly financial update from Mr. Cooper.
Good evening, everybody. While the deck loads, want to make sure just to make you all aware, we finished another financial audit. So I saw some calls for an annual audit. The district gets audited every year for several hundred hours by an outside agency called the State Auditor's Office. We just received a clean audit of both of our financial and federal funds for the 22-23 school year. So Yakima has a clean audit with no audit findings from an outside auditor. So our funds have been audited. And then we have the second part of our audit, which is the accountability portion. And Washington State, our state auditor's office audits both the federal and financial and the accountability portion. And the accountability portion will be compliance with state statute and local policies and procedures. So just wanted to get that started before we underway. This is the required monthly financial report. So state statute requires a monthly financial update to the board of directors, either in a slide deck or in a pre-determined form by OSPI. Budget enrollment, as we've talked about before, projected enrollment came in below budget. predominantly due to a lighter kindergarten class and then a doubling of running start from one fiscal year to the next. We haven't talked about that in many of our financial presentations, but that was another oddity in the enrollment of the cycle. And running start enrollment doubled in a single cycle, which of course would be outside most people's enrollment models. FTE, you can see the trend. Of course, I'd like to point you up to the 1920. During our budgetary conversations, we were either looking at fiscal year 18-19 or 17-18 when the budget deficit was discussed in July. We looked at enrollment from 17-18, I believe, but you can see if you look at the September number of their nearly 15,800, and then our current number in March of 14,956. There's the graph, not a very illustrious one, as it's pretty much a straight line, projected versus actual. Our revenue, the teal bar is the 23-24. So if you look at our general fund revenue, the black bar is the budget and the teal bar is the actual. So you can see that budgeted amounts and actual are very close. In fact, in March, slightly above budget for revenue or at budget, and then slightly below, as you can see, February as it tracks through the months. This is reflective, again, on our total. These are expenditures. Again, the teal bar is the actuals and the black bar is the budget. You can see over this fiscal year, since we have been doing mid-year reductions in attrition, you can see that a lot of our actuals are below budget on a monthly basis. Cash, so as projected, we are in the trough. So school districts have a very cyclical cash flow pattern. You can see the two tax periods in October and November, and then April. So we're just about ready to have our cash will increase. So the most worrisome time of the year is the spring when it comes to cash flow, and we are just about through that. But to put it in perspective, that $6 million of cash on our $300 million annual operating budget is about 2%. So that is less than, our last payroll was $20 million, so $6 million covers about a third of the payroll. So we have roughly, I'd have to calculate the cash, but about a half a month's of cash worth on hand at any given time. MSOCs, or material supplies and operating costs, this is the most volatile part of the budget because it can swing wildly depending upon if we have a curriculum adoption that comes through or timing of a running start payment. Again, though, as you can see over time, budget versus actual, there is some volatility, but those will even out as the fiscal year progresses. ESSER 3, so of our remaining ESSER funds, we have approximately $4 million left. Those funds are being used to round out Discovery Early Learning and will be exhausted by fiscal year end. Again, we talked about the learning recovery. Those funds are fully exhausted or expended. And that's it for the monthly. So that's your monthly financial report as required by state law. And of course, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Jake. Any questions?
My only question would really be for us more than for you, Jake, but can we put the reserve fund on our agenda for our next retreat so we can have a discussion about policy, investment strategy, et cetera, for our reserve fund, please?
Sure, we'd love it. It'd be great.
Thank you. Next up, we have the first opportunity for comments from the public on agenda items. Our attorney will make a brief statement before we make comments. Remember, you have signed an agreement on appropriate conduct at the podium. So Mr. Noah is going to review that for us.
Thank you, President Walker. I've been asked to comment about the public comment. Essentially, I don't know if many people know that public comments are discretionary to the board, whether they will accept those or not. Fortunately, our board does accept public comment. The only caveat the board puts on it is that there's certain rules of decorum, which are encompassed in the guidelines that everybody picks up before they approach the podium. Let me go ahead and read those real quick. It says the purpose of community input is for the board to listen to concerns of the community. Speakers will be treated in a respectful manner. board does not engage in dialogue at this time or typically respond to items that are not on the agenda, and the audience is expected to give their attention to the speaker. Members of the public that are asking to speak need to sign in prior to speaking. Introduce yourself and state all affiliations with the district. For example, parent, which school, staff member, which school, citizen, etc. A comment on agenda items occurs during the first comment period, which the president has indicated. Use of the second comment period is for items that are not on the agenda. And then speakers only speak once to each agenda item. Comments are limited to 3 minutes so that everyone has a chance to be heard. Speakers should refrain from discussing performance of an employee or the interpretation or application of the district's labor agreements, including grievances. And lastly, refrain from making derogatory comments about individuals. I think that captures everything.
Okay,
So
thank you.
we're asking that people that speak just follow the decorum. Obviously, when you provide for a comment period, it's a public forum and you have the right to First Amendment free expression, but we just want the decorum to maintain. Thank you.
Thank you. That said, first up in this comment period, we have Jeff Feen from Davis High School. Yeah.
Okay, so according to what he just said, I need to introduce myself. My name is Jeff Feen. I'm a parent of a student at Davis High School. And I also need to let you know that I'm a voter. I voted for the levy. I supported the levy. And I'm frustrated that IB program opportunities for these kids are going to be reduced under the current proposed budget. So I'm here to talk about my frustration with the proposed budget cutting of the IB music program at Davis. So cuts, so there've been a lot of talk about employees. You know, I know that you're dealing with some really tough issues here, but remember the students. I mean, you're the school board, right? So you're here for the students. Everything should be about the good of the students. So don't take opportunities away from them. So cuts should not be directly impacting negatively students. So let's talk about the impacts on students. So it's going to impact them in the IB program. One of the categories that they have to fill out or they have to meet is CAS, creativity, activity, and service. Well, if you take away IB music, you're taking away 2/3 of that opportunity for them to meet those requirements. A lot of those kids, band and music is part of their high school experience, their education, their creativity. So I only have to look right over here at this sign and see creativity. Use your imagination to create something or solve problems. We're going to take that away from them. So please, this is just a drop in the bucket. I know that you have a lot of hard decisions to make. This is just a drop in the bucket. Don't remove wholesale an entire program, because what's happening is you're going to make them choose between IB or music. And that's going to hurt both the IB program and the music program, but more importantly, the current students. So they have put a lot of effort in the last few years into creating schedules and activities for themselves and having a plan, and the rug's being pulled out from underneath them right now. So don't pull that rug out. So, did the buzzer go off? I got 34 seconds. So, okay. So Director Green, you talked about the reallocation of resources towards students, and you talked about music, but yet you're talking about removing IB music. I don't understand that. So, and I know that you're thinking, well, you know, there's just a small group of kids. Well, these are the kids we're talking about. We're talking about the kids. So please don't take that away from them.
Thank you, President Walker, for allowing a response. I know we typically don't do this. And first and foremost, I really respect the manner in which that was shared, acknowledgement that there are tough decisions. I did reach out to Principal Hasty, and I will connect with her again and have a conversation about what we can do to meet the request that was just made. Every dollar does count at this time, and we have expanded programs for 4 years, so the opportunities have increased. From what has been shared with me previously, teachers were involved in the process of which potential class to collapse, but that's certainly something that can be revisited, and I will report back out on what I find. So thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Wilson Harper, also representing Davis.
My name is Wilson Harper, and I'm a junior at Davis. I'm an IB diploma candidate and an IB music student, and I also serve as the Executive Board ASB president. I'm in that position because I really, truly love Davis. I love my friends there. I love the classes, the teachers, and the administrators. I also love playing the cello in our chamber orchestra. I've been a cellist since 5th grade when I was here at Roosevelt. And the idea of choosing between music and my IB diploma is brutal, but our school's administrators have been given no choice but to ask us to make that decision. According to current plans, we cannot do both next year. And for the record, there are far more of us this year, around 15 in my grade alone. In March of 2020, I sat with my cello in Mrs. Batillo's 6th period orchestra when we found out we were leaving Franklin Middle School because of the coronavirus pandemic. If you thought all of those video calls were bad, let me tell you about music over Google Meet. It's not something I'd wish on anyone. Still, those music classes brought a sense of normalcy and calm in the storm of COVID and my middle school years. We played our instruments, joked around, and were together in a way that was so hard to achieve in the pandemic. The act was futile in a sense. It's not like we were going to put on a real concert, but that wasn't the point. The point was that we were there together, playing our instruments and loving being in a community. It made me happy, and my love for orchestra has only grown since. And honestly, as much as I love music classes, my friends in band love it even more. And if they can't take IB music, there's a good chance they won't even be allowed in marching band, their real passion. Music is something that makes Davis better in so many ways. Students enjoy the classes, the sense of belonging, and it's such a big part of our school culture. Why on earth are we taking away something like this? I don't know how to stress this highly enough. Music is a part of our identity, and has been since 5th grade or even earlier for many of us. I'm sure the budget is more complicated than I realize, and you can hide it under however many layers of obfuscation you'd like. Hundreds of thousands of dollars still feels like an awful lot of money. Still, taking this joy away from us after we've already signed up for classes, committed to IB over a year ago, while people downtown are making the amount of money that they do, it quite frankly feels cruel. There's still time to make it right though. I beg you to listen to our voice, to our student voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harper. Next up, we have Brian Pfaff. Okay. Pam Shelton.
My name is Pam Shelton, and I'm a substitute in the district, but I'm also a homeowner and a taxpayer. And as a resident and a taxpayer in this district, I voted for the levy because I believed it would allow the district to keep jobs and continue to have staff in the schools that our children so desperately need. But clearly, the levy wasn't enough to cover the deficit we're facing. And this is a direct result of the board's mismanagement of school funds. These board members still have, 3 of them have more than 3 years until re-election, fall of 2027. I think that's too long. How much more damage will be done to our kids? They're the most vulnerable. How many more teachers and support staff will be eliminated in an attempt by the board to shore up the deficit? We can't afford to wait and see. We have every right as voters to recall the board. But more importantly, we need to focus on our teachers, and we need to remember who we put first, and that's our kids. They are the most important. They're the next generation. They are our future leaders. We need to be putting them first. Thank you.
Next up, we have Meredith Brew.
Hi, my name is Meredith Brew. Thank you for pronouncing my name properly. I gave a phonetic spelling. I am a parent of a Davis High School student. I also reside within the city of Yakima, and I've lived here for, gosh, going on 30 years now. I'm here to talk about the IB music program. Sorry. I'm very, very disappointed in the decision to cut IB music. I don't understand how you can offer an IB program without offering music. I actually question whether or not that is technically, I'm a lawyer, I look to the regulations, I've been searching for them about what is required to be offered for an IB program. Haven't found my answer yet, but I don't understand how you can offer an IB program without offering IB music. Makes no sense to me. It's very frustrating. Respectfully, Superintendent Green, I do believe your number about only 3 students is incorrect. I can see 6 students right now, including my son and several of his friends who are here at this meeting. And so I know that they are all involved in the IB program, and they are being required to make a choice between their IB diploma and taking music. All of them are members of the marching band. They've been told for the past 3 years that they actually have to be in marching band because they want to do music. And now they're being told they can't be in marching band for their senior year because they want to do IB. These are our students that are seeking to do their best and excel, and you're pulling that away from them. So that is not acceptable to me. A change needs to be made. Maybe the change needs to come somewhere else and looking what our requirements are for the programs. Is it possible that they can audit a music program and still get their IB diploma? Can we please look outside the box, stop thinking about this is how we do things, and come up with a solution that works both for your budget and for the students so that they can continue to belong to their peer groups, continue to create music and enjoy music and learn more about music and be fully involved in their high school, and not look back and say, geez, that was really, really horrible what my school district did to me in my junior or my senior year of high school, taking away this opportunity from me. So I ask that you please look at that again and make sure that IB music is offered. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Debbie Blodgett Goins from Roosevelt. That's not an agenda item, so we will be hearing from Ms. Blodgett Goins at the second comment period. Ana Lamas from Ridgeview Group Home.
Hi, my name is Anna Lamas. I am the teacher at Ridgeview Group Home, a female community facility serving incarcerated youth to help them successfully transition back into the community. I do have the supervisor here from Ridgeview Group Home to support me, Michelle Reglin. I am here today because my position is being cut to a 0.5 ATE, and I want to bring awareness on how this is unjust to the youth that I serve. My job is to provide schooling to the youth based on individual need, either for middle school, high school requirements, credit retrieval, or GED preparation. Most of these students work to receive their high school diploma, while some prefer to prepare for the GED. Ridgeview Group Home pays for all the testing, GED, while YSD pays for the materials needed to prepare these students for the GED if they choose that route. All students are full-time students. None of the students at Ridgeview Group Home are part-time. I have a very small classroom of 8 computers. They can serve up to 14, but choose to max out at 10 to best serve these students. Before the classroom at Ridgeview Group Home, the youth attended school in person at Yakima Online, open doors at the portables where they have them now. This did not work well for the students or for the group home. Michelle Reglin, here with me again today, believes that we would be very challenged to get our youth the education they deserve if we have to if they have to transition out of minimum or max facilities and go directly into the schools. The youth already come to us with huge school deficits, mental health issues, and are often at the beginning stage of processing trauma. OSPI provides funding to the school district for institutional education programs with a minimum enrollment of 1 student. I do have where I got this information. Community facilities are funded separately than the county detention centers. There should be 1 certified instructional staff per facility in the community facility, separate from the 1 per every 10 staff to student ratio at the juvenile detention center. It is not possible to have 1 certified instructional staff at the group home full-time if my position is cut to 0.5. It would also not be possible for the district to receive full funding from OSPI for the program at Ridgeview if this position is cut to 0.5. According to, and then I have the law, an enrolled institutional educational program student needs to engage in a minimum of 27 hours and 45 minutes of educational activity per week in a specific program to be counted as 1 FTE. If my position is being cut, this amount of time in the program is impossible, meaning the district will only be able to count Ridgeview Group Home as a partial FTE. Can I finish really quick?
Thank you, but I'm sorry, but your time is up. We need to save time for other presenters.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. If you would like to leave that document with us so we have the rest of your report, we'd be happy to read your document. Okay, next up we have Chris, I think it's Brandon from AC Davis, or is it Chris Braden? Welcome to med school.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Brandon. I have 3 children in the Yakima School District, AC Davis, Franklin Middle School, and Nob Hill Elementary. All 3 of which are musical instrument oriented kids. I'm here to talk about the IB music program today. The people have discussed already about you're forcing our kids to make a choice, right? I want to talk about the agreement that they went into this understanding with, that they would be able to finish with IB music and being able to do that. The question I have for you guys is, you guys all signed up for the school board to be a part of that under some sort of agreement, right? How would you feel if that agreement changed midstream with you guys and it wasn't what you signed up for? Please think about that as you consider the IB music program and what it means to these kids. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up, we have Myra Tejeda from Hoover.
Good afternoon.
My name is Mayra Tejeda, and I am a special education teacher at Hoover Elementary. I teach grades kinder, first and second grade. I would like to briefly thank my school administration. I would like to briefly thank my school administration and coworkers at Hoover Elementary for treating me with kindness, and respect during this difficult time. As a new year teacher, I came into the district with several hopes and dreams, just for them to be shattered by the district's poor money management. All my hard work seems meaningless to the district because I am just number 1031. But I am more than that to my students. I work with them every day by providing them the care, love, and patience they sometimes don't get at home. Teaching them the necessary skills of social, emotional, and related skills, attitudes, behaviors, and values that enable them to succeed in school and the community. Now I am left with anxiety and uncertainty of whether or not I am going to be brought back to my classroom and my students. Thank you.
Next up, we have Patrick Malahan from Davis.
Good afternoon. I'm very nervous to be talking in front of you, so I apologize for that. I teach at Davis. I teach anthropology and I teach history. And with that, I come before you very humbly because I don't understand math very well. I kind of deal in the qualified realm of things, so I would just like to share with you kind of my qualified thoughts. I just kind of wrote this down. I was inspired to speak at the last meeting, but I didn't have the gumption to do it. I don't know the former superintendent. I don't even know you very well, Dr. Green, and I don't know you all. So I can't speak to what it was like before. And I'm not in your hearts. I don't know what's like for you. But I feel that in the last few years since I was hired in 2017, the culture shift at least my building is drastic. I don't feel like there's a connection, and I don't think it's any one person's fault. COVID obviously dropped a bomb on that, but I hope that whatever the plan is, because I don't have one, but I genuinely want, like, I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm privileged because I'll be here next year because I was lucky enough to be hired when I was. But I hope that there's a plan for the lucky ones that will be here, that it starts to feel like a family. Because right now, it's interesting to me the gap between the students, the families, and the board, like it feels like it's a mile wide. And I don't feel that connection. I would like there to be a connection. So I'd like you to consider that, and hopefully we can move forward, because right now I feel like there's no ground between the district, the teachers, and the board, and that's just where I feel right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Adrian Garner.
Superintendent Green, Yakima School District Board, and teachers, community members. I am here, two things. I am a parent, proudly a parent of Yakima School District kids, plural, and I am an alumni of the Yakima School District as well. So I want to say that because I haven't heard that tonight. I am alumni of Yakima School District. So Garfield, Franklin, and Davis. But tonight I am here not only representing as a community member, as a parent, but also representing the Yakima County NAACP. Our president couldn't be here tonight, but we recognize that The school board cannot do it alone. What can we do to help as partners, as parents? We recognize that COVID really did a job on everybody. You know, we have not experienced this situation before. So what can we do now together to make sure our educators are where they need to be with the kids? I remember when my twins started Hoover, my English teacher, Kathleen McCarthy, came out of retirement to be the principal at Hoover. And so some of you who are old enough to remember that, just raise your hand. I'm getting, okay, I see some hands back there. But the point is that the educators, the administrators are important, but so is community. And so how can we best bridge the gap to make that come together? Is the ultimate answer laying off? I realize that some people have retired, some people have been able to go into other different positions, but what about those that don't have anywhere to go? What can we do to bridge the gap? And so I'm standing here as a community partner. The Yakima School District has been very good to me and my family, to many of my friends, my graduating class, 93. Many of us, because of the efforts put in by some of the older teachers, and I think Terry Cooper is still at Davis. He was my English teacher. That time, that effort, that compassion, that love. I heard somebody say something about foster children. I was there too. So I've been that community partner. I trained way back when in Chris Steinmake's class to support our SPED kids. So there's a lot that goes in. Everybody has something to add to the recipe to make this pie great. So we just need to know what we need to do to help to move into next year. And I want to leave it out there. Is there anything that we can leave off the table when we help pass the levy that can maybe wait a year or two to keep things going? Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. Next up, we will break for the site tour at Roosevelt. Let's try to keep that to 20 minutes if possible, Principal, so that we can conclude the rest of our meeting after the site tour.
This is Miss Fry, and this is one of the first classroom that we're going to go to at the very end over here. Hi, Martha. This is a GLAD strategy where it's inviting the homes to help students make a connection between their personal life and the project. So,
is GLAD strategy an acronym, or is that just really like I'm just about?
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, I want them to be happy for sure. Yeah. But GLAD is Guided Language Acquisition Design. And so I can teach any subject with a language lens. And so I do that with reading, writing, math, listening, speaking. So these would be considered like a pictorial input chart. And I chose to use like an initial thinking model of something they had never had experience with before. We did all of our learning sequence. And then we put details back on the chart that they had learned. So it was a more realistic representation of a Fallschirm exam. And then the writing about it is the final process where we did it. At first we thought, writing strategy, at first we thought that they were really caught up with the teeth on the little fish. At first we thought the little fry had teeth, but now we know they don't. So they actually got to touch salmon carcasses and little fry that we were raising in the classroom. So. But I'm always trying to put a math lens on things too, so we get that other standard woven into our learning.
Are you part of that salmon release program?
Yep. So here's our data. My class released 170 fry, Mrs. Merrill's 174. We have a friendly competition. I always win. So then I turn this into a math problem always. How many more did we release? And so we use math models to help make those abstract numbers real. And then, of course, the number bond is a math model that my kids are certainly fluent with at this point. So,
Have you released yours yet?
yes,
And where did you release them?
Roundel Park.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing that for almost, well, I won't tell you how long. Long time.
A couple of years.
2 years. So when you walk in here, I hope that you see a stimulating atmosphere that is student-centered. This is probably one of the most important spots in the room where students make a personal goal. I'm learning a new reading curriculum, and so I'm really playing around with a lot of this stuff still. I'm not always sure if I'm doing the right thing, but I'm using GLAD again to wrap my head around CKLA. And I'm learning a lot about things that I just have never had the experience to learn. So we're doing a habitat unit right now, and I'm so grateful for GLAD because I don't know, I'm learning the language also. And so it's a pleasure to speak to the children about how I'm learning also, and practicing using categories of things so you can compare to different habitats. This is all GLAD. This isn't Mrs. Fry. Today we did this sentence patterning chart around the Sonoran Desert habitat. And in the hallway, on the far end, is some Arctic paragraphs that they wrote basically after we did something similar. So my students are able to sit down, and I can kind of nudge them with a topic sentence, but they can pretty much go on their own now and write a paragraph, which, yeah, that's hard work. So I'm glad that it's April and not like June, so we can practice even more. Anyway, anchor charts, that's another thing that my grade level team is very passionate about. Making math real for students is a huge deal, and connecting it to other topics as much as you can. But our big goal is 2-digit plus 2-digit and regrouping, which when I was a little girl was a second grade standard, if not a third grade standard. But there are ways to teach them if you can use a model that they can understand, whether it be manipulative or in a drawing. So we refer to this stuff all day long. And if they can't tell me if it's model A or B in the story problem, we gotta talk and do some intervention, because I want them to start thinking about how they can look at a story problem and figure out what they're doing. What are they after? How are they going to answer the question? And how are they going to make me understand their work? It has to be clear so I can see it and understand it.
So pick a table, pick a binder. I want everyone at a table. As you saw on the slide on the presentation, a lot of graphs. So they graph their own work. So this is a lot of student ownership. And so this is a ton of buy-in for kids, where they are learning their own, they're making their own goals, and they are taking their learning on their own. And so when they do assessments, they talk, they create new goals, and then they graph. No, so this is Miss Merrill. She teaches 3rd grade here at Roosevelt. And this is one of her students. I'm going to let her introduce herself, because she is actually going to tell you everything that's going on and why they use data binders. And she's going to explain the whole thing, and she can probably answer any of your questions when you're finished. There you are. Okay.
Hello, my name is Evelyn, and I'm going to tell you about what we do in our data binder. This was the fall conference reflection sheet, and it's like the same thing, but it's a little bit different. It still has our scores and what we want to improve in again for the next quarter, I think, right? Semester. We put our scores here, we put 3NF1, 3NF2, or 3NF3. And
Can you explain the scores? What are the scores?
And so blue is a 4, and 4 means above grade level. Green is 3, which is at grade level. Yellow is 2, which is a little bit below grade level. And a 1 is pink, and that is way below grade level. Do you have any questions?
Well, you did a very nice job explaining this. I'm not sure that I would have known what all this was if you hadn't shared that with us.
Thank you.
Good job.
And we also displayed our Earth Day STEAM project that we did today, so.
Do you have one of those sculptures? Is one of those yours?
Yes.
Yeah, do you want to tell us about it?
So.
Go get it.
And you don't know, but you made the tallest one. I haven't shared it with the class yet. The tallest one. The challenge was to make the tallest tree.
So we read Wangari's Trees of Peace. And when the people cut down all the trees and deforest the trees, she planted new baby trees and let them grow. And now in Africa, there is, if you go on Mount Kenya, then you can see all of the trees that Wangari planted when some people did deforestation on her forest.
Nice.
You can show you can take your tree off, so you can show it if you want to show it off. And the class doesn't know, but she made the tallest one. Sorry,
We won't tell them.
yeah. Well, we'll tell them tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just don't tell them till I tell them. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to inform you, I have a severe family emergency. I need to leave, and we do not have a quorum, so we need to suspend the meeting. We will continue the meeting at a later date. I'm very sorry to inform you of that. Thank you.